Yes, it's all going to fall on you because fraud cannot persist over truth. Anyway, we're talking to Jeff tonight from Florida. He's been a state national for 3 years now.
3 years?
3 years or so. I've been going on 10, 12, somewhere in there. I forget. As soon as I found out they stole my nationality from me, I took it back immediately. But anyway, I just want to add a couple notes in here, just talking about the states, or the United States and the Congress, calling the people of the South rebels and things of that nature, and insurgents and insurrection. It's totally bogus. They weren't, because the federal government doesn't have the authority to tell the states what to do. There's a thing called perpetual union, which is a bunch of nonsense also. It's one of my favorite definitions I like to use to explain how people commit resistance against their government. It's out of Noah Webster's definition from 1828, and it's listed under insurgent. If you get a Webster's 1828 dictionary, you'll see it in there. And it's not a law dictionary, it's just a general purpose dictionary. But Webster said, an insurgent is a person who rises in opposition to civil or political authority, one who openly and actively resists the execution of laws. An insurgent differs from a rebel. The insurgent opposes an execution of a particular law or laws. A rebel attempts to overthrow or change government, or revolts and attempts to place his country under another authority. All rebels are insurgents, but all insurgents are not rebels. Okay, so in order for the states of the South to be rebels, that would mean the United States would have had to create the states. And that's quite the opposite. It wasn't, the states created the United States. So there's no way that the states can rebel against the United States. They just took back as a sovereign nation what was theirs. And if you go back into case law and into Amgir, here's a definition from Amgir. Rebels, it's under rebels. A term loosely but incorrectly applied to the Confederate forces engaged in the Civil War. And you'll find that in American jurisprudence under insurrections, Section 2. They might have changed it now, but that's a definition from the 70s.
That's a big gold nugget.
Yeah, it is.
They're changing Amgirs, too. They're taking stuff like that out.
Yeah, we're finding that they alter Amgir, too. So these guys are the law doesn't change. It's consistent. They just dumb people down, okay? Joseph Rory has done extensive research on this, of how they change dictionaries and to brainwash people. This whole collective system is based on deception, lies, and fear. And that's why I keep telling people, on the other side of the coin, there's the disinformation I mentioned that, people are saying George Bush might pull a coup or something like that and stay in office. Well, there is the other side of the coin that it might have been stopped by information coming out to that effect. That would cease it or cause it not to come about. That's the other possibility. Of course, we don't know all these things. So I guess the main point to keep in mind is just remember you have to do what you have to do, or we have to do what we have to do. And don't worry about what they're doing or what might happen. They mostly, they're operating off fear and deception. So, I'm still here. I wrote the Red Amendment 10 years ago, and I myself was scared when I released it, but I'm still here. So these guys do follow the law. The reason they keep everyone at bay is they put out disinformation and keep everyone ignorant. So anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight, trying to pierce some of the ignorance and get some information out to people.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead, Jeff. Why don't you give your
anyway,
email
guys,
again?
I'm rattling off a bunch of info, and I will email you my notes, and I'll leave my email at the end of the break. The reason I'm not giving it to you now because I want you to listen. Anyway, we left off with the southern states. In a lot of non-southern states rejected the 14th Amendment, and the point is that if the 39th Congress was saying that the southern states were unlawful and in rebellion, how come they sent them an amendment to ratify? You know, and then if 3/4 of the states do not ratify an amendment, then it does not become part of the Constitution. So the 14th Amendment was rejected and did not become part of the Constitution. So if these southern states were so rebellious and unlawful and illegitimate, then why was there negative ratification? In other words, why was that recognized by virtue of the 14th Amendment not being in the Constitution? Think about that. So that was October 1866 through the beginning of 1867 that this 14th Amendment was rejected. Okay, here we are in 1867 now. We're in February 8th, 1867. A month before what were the Reconstruction Acts, a month before those were colorably implemented, the 39th Congress introduces a bill, Bill 1143, called A Bill to Establish an Additional Article of War for the More Complete Suppression of the Insurrection against the United States. So, for those of you that were listening first break, wait, President Johnson just said that there was peace across the land 3 times on the record, saying that there was no rebellion, that they were following everything. They passed the Anti-Slavery Amendment. They incorporated in their legislation. The President of the United States of America says that there's peace in the land, but then you have these people in the 39th Congress saying an additional article of war in times of peace to suppress this insurrection? Okay, now we're in March 2nd. First Reconstruction Act is colorably enacted, and that was March 2nd, 1867. You can look that up in Volume 14 of the Statutes at Large, page 428. But then President Johnson vetoes the act. Why do you think he vetoes the act? Here's a quote from his veto. Actually, this is from a third veto. Yeah, they tried passing this like 3 times, but I'm going to read. This is a juicy quote. If this assumption that these states have no legal state governments be true, he's saying if that's true, then the abolition of slavery by these illegal governments binds no one. For Congress now denies to these states the power to abolish slavery by denying to them the power to elect a legal state legislature or to frame a constitution for any purpose for the abolition of slavery. So hopefully you guys understand Johnson's logic, showing them how illogical that is. So here we are. We have the Second Reconstruction Act, March 23rd of the Second Reconstruction Act. President Johnson vetoes the act again. So the Third Reconstruction Act, July 19th, he vetoes it again. So these Reconstruction Acts were definitely an article of war. They installed military governments within these states to subjugate them. They called it an article of war. If you read the notes, you'll see how the Reconstruction Acts are an act of war, how they dethroned, or if you will, they broke up every state legislature, and then they installed military governments within them.